Well, folks, welcome to Smorgasboard. I'm your board game concierge, David Weiss for 401 Games. And it's October 1st. Jamie Stegmaier promised all Canadian pre-orders would arrive in September. He was technically correct because this copy did arrive at my friend Matt's place yesterday on the very last day of September. And this morning I walked over to meet him to pick up my copy 10,090 out of 25,000 in this first printing. And now I am going to unbox it for you and with you so we can see for ourselves what's in the box. So this is a game that has gotten a lot of hype on the wings of Wingspan, which got on the cover of New York Times and was chosen Spiel des Jahres for last year, and had similar delivery issues, shall we say. And so copies have been dribbling out, and so there's a bit of controversy about that. There's also a bit of controversy about whether it really is a civilization game, as it's promised on the box, playable in 2 hours. The playable in 2 hours part is not in dispute. There's only 4 pages of rules. Those rules were posted ages ago, but the question is whether it's really a civilization game or if it is an engine building game with a sort of civilization veneer. So for me, a Civ game, I've played Sid Meier's Civ games going right back to 1990-91, Civ 1. It was the reason I bought a color monitor so I could play that game. And so for me, a Civ game has 2 main things, obviously on top of sort of the sweep of history. It's got a map and it's got a tech tree. Those were my 2 favorite bits. Through the Ages is a great game, but it doesn't have a map, and for me it kind of loses out on that. And not really a tech tree. It's got card drafting. I've written a fair bit about Civ games for the Daily Worker placement, and I've played pretty well every Civ board game there is, Civ themed board game and actual Civ board game. So here are the main rules, 4 pages. They're not standard size pages, but they are 4 pages. And then we have the reference guide for the tracks, and there's 2 copies of that. Reference guide for the tracks on one side, the 4 tracks, and then the tech cards. And that was another complaint, that the technology system is a little weird in that you can sort of have nanobots on one track and still haven't invented the wheel on the other. Here are the Automa Rules. So in this game, there's your standard kind of Stonemaier Automa, and they also have this Shadow Empire, which you can incorporate with a 2-player game to make things a bit tighter. But when you play solitaire, you play with the Shadow Empire and an Automa. And so there is the Shadow Empire variant. Okay, now we're coming into the stuff. So the dice, custom made. And so we have our D12, unusual to see a D12 these days, for the science die. And I wonder why they chose that. Honestly, when a D6 could have, well, I don't know. I haven't counted the faces on it. And then the combat or conquest dice for the rewards you get for conquest. Combat is extremely simplified, unlike, say, the Kevin Wilson 2010 Civ, which is a whole almost sub-game all to itself. So here we have the cards. So let's open these first. These look like Automa cards. Oh, I like shrink wrap cards that open up easily. That's definitely a thing of mine, a bee in my bonnet when they can't open them up. So these are like benefits for the Automa. Then these cards, these are the Automa decision cards. They're paired up to make their decision on what tracks to move on and other things, and a tiebreaker icon for the map, and whether they're going to have an income turn or not, and so on. There's a bit of uncertainty about when the Automa will declare an income turn. These are your tech cards. So the thing with tech in this game is that when you first discover a tech, you actually don't get any benefits at all. It's almost more like you've had the conception of it, and then you, over time, on your income turns, you upgrade it. But really, it's not so much an upgrade as it goes from conception to sort of prototype to full implementation. So someone on BGG talked about that, and I like that. Anyway, I should also say that the rules are on sort of nice, sort of, I'll bring those back here. The rules are on this sort of nice linen-y paper, not quite just paper, and the cards are definitely high quality, as one would expect. All the components of a Stonemaier game, same with the dice. Okay, then we have, oh boy. Then we have the other cards, which are going to be the Tapestry cards and some other Automa cards. And again, relatively easy to open as far as this goes. So, yeah, so these are the Automa cards for different, like, the Automa will only play certain types of Civ, and you can set the level of difficulty that they're going to be. Then these are player aid cards for your actions, and then here we have all the Tapestry cards. So I have definitely heard that the Tapestry cards are sort of a mixed bag, and depending on when you get them, and it's again sort of thematic in the sense that you can have, I mean, they've given them relatively neutral terms that could apply to many eras, sort of, you know, but I mean, to be an oil magnate in your first era or second era is pretty unusual. And then you have the trap cards, which does give a bit of uncertainty. There's only 7 of them in the game. Oh, no, 8. So, but it does give, you know, takes a little bit of uncertainty out of that. Okay, now we come to the civs themselves. They're single-sided. Again, much discussion on the balance here. Some people feeling like some are more powerful than others. And then Rodney recently posted a very thoughtful video about game balance in general, and particularly as it applies to Tapestry. Anyway, looking forward to trying all these out. Not all of them, though, are playable solitaire, though, so there's that. Lots of baggies, which I like. They're pretty big, though. Oh, boy. Then, oh, let's leave that goodness for the end, the bits here. But we have the board with rounded corners. Interesting choice. We have the various capital cities with their terrains, again single-sided, so you have your choice of what type of terrain, whether it's mountain and wetland. And that's an interesting kind of spatial sub-game you can play where, you know, filling a particular Sudoku block will give you bonus resources, and completing rows and columns give you victory points. Then this is just to hold the various monuments, and then we have the player mats, again single-sided. This is the Automa player mat, And it's double-sided, normal and hard, with various multipliers and things on them as you go. These are also have a nice, I wouldn't call it a linen finish, but it is definitely not a regular finish. Then you have your terrain tiles and space tiles. Again, as a Civ fan, I like the fact that near the end of the game, you can sort of reach out into space. You get some pretty decent bonuses. There is one tile, which I believe is this one here, which is misprinted. It should have one of your conquest things on it. To me, that is extremely minor, but I know that's not true for other people. And then we have the board with the tracks. So we have a map, very nice map. It's two-sided, so this is, I can't tell actually which side is, oh, this is for four plus players. And then this is the 2 and 3 player board on a smaller globe. I think that if you wanted to play a less confrontational game, you could probably play 2 or 3 players outside. Now we have the, well, there's no surprises under the insert. And then we have the models, which are taped down, which is good in terms of, you know, just sort of keeping things in place while shipping. I always hate that residue that you get. Scotch tape's been on something for a while. Yeah. It's not easy to take off. I'm probably going to edit this next part out until I get it all off. Or I could just keep talking. So I'm actually going to be trying out the solitaire component pretty well as soon as I finish this video. And then tonight I hope to get a 4-player game in. And we'll then be able to do either a column or a video about what my thoughts are. So here are the bits. So let's take a look at one of these. These are very, very nice. They are very nice. Are they necessary? I mean, no. They do make, like if you put them on your capital city, they will definitely make your capital city look nice. That takes up a whack load of space. You should keep that in mind as you plan. There's only certain places they can go. Now they do say that you're allowed to overbuild over the edges later on, so anyway. So these are the main monuments and so on, and then we have the little little settlements, very cute little hobbit houses, and they all look like hobbit houses to me. Okay, well this doesn't look like a hobbit house, but it does look like something the big bad wolf would blow down. Yeah, actually, it reminds me of Grim Forest. They kind of remind me of that game, the Grim Forest, that you played it. And then you have your Conquest Tokens, which are also, open up red. It's my favorite cola. Easier, oh, that's a cube. It's about as uninteresting as you could be. But there's your Conquest Token. It's a little hexagonal prism. Very nice. So, oh, and then your markers for the various resources for your mat. I do like the fact that there's really only one edition, unlike, say, Scythe. There's not going to be like a Kickstarter / Champion edition and a retail edition. Everyone's getting the same bits. And I guess the real question will be whether they'll be able to ship enough copies out for November 1st, which is the street date supposedly for FLGSs. Certainly in the States, people have been getting and playing their copies. Canada originally only got 100 of the 500 pre-order copies, but I'm assuming now people will be pulling that out. All I can tell you folks at 401 is that if you have pre-ordered it, we will be filling those pre-orders in order that you pre-ordered them. So the earlier you got on board, the sooner you will get it. And hopefully we will have some kind of launch event on one of our Meeple Mondays where I'll teach the game and people can pick up their copies and play them. So there's our unboxing video. Hope you've enjoyed it. Stay tuned for a review. And so this is David Weiss, your board game concierge for 401 Games. And I'm out.